Hey everybody, it's Tom here with Hidden Beats, and today we have Jake from the East Pointers. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me.
So, for those who might be new to the podcast, the video, whatever, could you give a little intro about the East Pointers and who you guys are as musicians?
Sure. So we're based on Prince Edward Island. I'm here in Charlottetown today. My name's Jake, and my two bandmates are Tim Chasin and Cody Chasin, who we unfortunately lost in January. Tragically, he passed. Excuse me, had a heart attack. But yeah, we're still going, still carrying on, and releasing some music that Cody was involved with. And happy to be on your show.
And sorry to hear about that. I read about that at one point, and that's never fun for sure.
Yeah, thanks. Bit of a shock for sure, but pretty special guy, and there's lots of people changed a lot of lives around the world, so we're carrying on his memory for sure.
What was his role in the band?
Cody was the tenor banjo player, and among other things, played tenor guitar and bass pedals with his feet, and just a great guy. You know, we started the band about 10 years ago. Tim and Cody were cousins, and yeah, Cody's sort of changed his life around when the band started. He quit drinking and just really, he was such a role model for so many people going through different things and great musician, obviously. So,
And I mean, his spirit will live on in your music for sure.
yeah, we hope so. Yeah, we've got a bunch of songs that we're releasing that Cody was a part of in the studio, and that's definitely helped.
hmm So what's the motivation for East Pointers in your music?
I guess originally started off just an excuse to hang out. We were good buds, and we all grew up playing traditional like fiddle music on the East Coast. I'm from Ontario myself. I'm Barrie, but ended up out here quite a bit, and it was just an excuse to hang out, play tunes. We made a little EP, and then got quite busy with some cool opportunities. So we just kept going, and yeah, love writing music, love sharing music, and it's been a pretty crazy adventure.
hmm what's Do you have any inspirational people in music for you that as you were coming up you kind of tried to mimic or tried to take some points from?
Yeah, I mean, tons along the way. I guess we started out with sort of the trad stuff, and you know, there's so much tradition on the East Coast of Canada in that, but also listened to the radio and loved pop music and hip hop, and so I think we just tried to make music that we liked to make, and drew from a whole whack of influences, and this was the the result, I guess.
Did you come from a musical family?
A little bit, yeah. Dad was just a big fan of music, record collector, and two brothers who play the fiddle and guitar, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of music around the house for sure.
Nice. I've always wanted to play the fiddle. I don't know if I'm that dexterous to be able to do that.
Oh, it's never too late, man.
Well, I mean, I got some time off coming up, so I might pick up something, try something
There
new.
you go. Yeah, come on out to PEI. There's lots of tunes happening.
Actually, so I work with a booking agent who does shows, and they're doing some tours out there, so there might be a potential for that.
Nice.
hmm
Yeah, it's a good spot to be. There's lots happening in Charlottetown right now. It's I mean, we were lucky through the pandemic to have things going on, and pretty amazing scene out here for sure.
How did you guys cope with music during COVID as the band?
It was a change of pace for sure. We were in Australia when it all kicked off, and had to cancel the rest of a pretty large tour. We released an album a few years ago, and then we're touring around for that. But came back and hunkered down. I moved to Charlottetown, and we just started recording, writing a lot of music. Yeah, just adapted. There was a lot of Zoom meetings and Zoom writing sessions, and here we are, still going.
hmm
Um, yeah, it was a change for sure, but made the most of it.
What was your process like for making music before COVID?
We spent a lot of time on the road as the East Pointers, so we were writing kind of as we were going at sound checks, and you know, making time on the road was a big part of our sound the past few years. So this was the first time we had like time off together to sit down and create some stuff. So it was pretty nice, to be honest. It was nice to have the time to do, yeah, be creative, and we connected with a bunch of pals and did some co-writing and Colin McDonald from the Trews was a good buddy, and we did a lot of writing with him. Got into a nice schedule, and yeah, it is what it is. Was what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, I mean,
But
everyone has kind of a different way they do things, and I know some people like to hunker down and just write for months on end versus, you know, like as you go kind of thing. So it's
yeah,
interesting to hear that side of the creativity process.
no, it was good for us. I think after like 5 years of hard touring, we had a bit of downtime to yeah write some songs, and definitely proud of some of the stuff that came out of that downtime. So.
Hmm. Do you have any fun tour stories? I know there's usually something crazy that goes on.
I always struggle with this question. There's hard to pinpoint one, but it's yeah, definitely with Cody passing this year, I'm so grateful for the adventures, and he was such a funny guy, and the road was always pretty entertaining with Cody around. Um, yeah, I'm not very good at picking out a specific highlight here, but definitely enjoyed the tours in the UK and Australia, and hit some pretty amazing festivals, and ups and downs always,
Hmm.
but yeah, pretty lucky to have done it.
What would you say would I know there's a huge difference in the UK music scene versus Canada. Like, how would you describe that difference?
Yeah, it's an amazing scene over there. I think well, they're known for that scene, but even just geographically, there's so many big cities so close together, and you can just hop around, an hour down the road, and you're in another massive city. So the touring's amazing. You can get a lot done, and yeah, just everything, every sort of scene that you could be interested in, you could find it in the UK for sure. The melting pot of music and cool stuff coming out of there.
Mhm. And it always seems like there's just everybody goes to shows. It doesn't matter what it is. Usually it's always packed. There's always a lot of crowd support, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we just did a tour supporting a band called Pete and Diesel from the Isle of Lewis, and they brought us along for their support tour. Really cool guys, and they were playing these iconic venues like the Barrowlands in Glasgow, and this was just coming out of a bunch of lockdowns in the UK, and people showed up. People came out. They were really supportive, and yeah, amazing.
Nice. Do you have like a favorite venue you might have played out there? Like one of those historic ones that everyone loves to play at?
That would be the first one that came to mind, the Barrowlands.
Yeah.
They had like Oasis and just all the massive bands back in the 90s played there, and continue to play there. It's really a cool old venue in Glasgow, a lot of history. Um, yeah, that one stands out, but I mean, they're all over the place. Every town you go to has a pretty cool spot.
Hmm. Well, I mean, except for Ottawa, where most of our venues are closed down right now.
We've had some good times in Ottawa for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely some fun spots here, but COVID kind of hit hard in a lot of spots. So
Yeah,
we've got, I think, two small venues, a medium size, and then the stadium. It's like there's not a lot of
yeah,
place to go.
that's it. Yeah, we've ended up at the NAC a couple times, and
Yeah.
yeah, Ottawa's cool. A ton of musicians around there for sure. Lots
Hmm.
happening.
For sure, for sure. What would you say the music scene is like now after COVID? Like, how would you describe its evolution?
I can only really speak from the scene out here, but it's just thriving. It seems like artists have been cooped up for 2 or 3 years, and now are coming out. Everyone's releasing music, and there's all these new bands like jumping out. I think normally, um, previously, you'd be able to sort of keep track of the bands coming out, and you'd see them evolve and form. And now we just went to the ECMAs a few weeks ago, and there were these incredible bands that I had not heard of. So yeah, I think music's back.
Hmm.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I think COVID allowed people the time to sit and try different things and come up with just new music, really.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, it was a time to be creative. Yeah, and there were times, I mean, you had all this downtime. There was this pressure to be creative. Like, oh, we got to make the most of this, and that I think that wasn't always the case either. It was a struggle to have that pressure as well and try to carry on. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
Did you guys dive into social media at all and try to really get into maybe even like live stream concerts and things like that?
We did a couple things, which it was a struggle. I think the most success we had was with a reading of Anne of Green Gables that we did. We were all in different parts of the world at the time. Cody was in Australia, I was in the UK, and Tim was in on Prince Edward Island. And we decided to read Anne of Green Gables, the whole book, online, and brought on a bunch of guests. And that just felt like just a little fresher than doing a Zoom. Well, we couldn't do a Zoom gig. We were in different parts of the world, so we did that and played a few tunes and brought on some guests, and that was kind of fun. Little social club. It was called
Hmm.
Andemic. If anyone's curious, you can check it out. There's some YouTube clips for the Anne fans out there.
And it's definitely different. And I'm sure a lot of people kind of looked at that and went, wow, okay, this works.
Yeah, it was cool, and we did it to raise money. There's a little a link to donate, and we raised quite a bit of money for the Unison Benevolent Fund, which supports artists and I think helped a lot of people through the pandemic.
Nice. That's good to hear.
It was nice.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to do much of like checking out people's live streams and that. There was just always something and it's hard to catch everything. So
I know. I think it was. I mean, it was nice initially, and then people, I think, got tired of looking at a screen. And yeah, pretty happy to see live gigs happening again.
I got to cover a couple live shows here in Ottawa recently, and it was almost like more intense than you'd expect going into all these people and be like, wow, everything. I haven't seen this in years at this point.
Definitely. Yeah, there's going to be an adjustment. It's everyone's forgotten how to be social, but
Yeah. It was nice to see friends and like fellow photographers, things like that, and
yeah,
just get back into what feels like normal.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's going to be a big summer. There's going to be lots of exciting things going on around Canada and beyond.
Do you guys have like live stuff planned coming up? Because I mean, festival season's in full swing pretty much at this point. And
Yeah, we're taking it a bit slower this year. Weren't quite sure how things were going to go after Cody passed away, but we're focusing on the record. We just released a single, and we've got 5 more tracks that are coming out through the summer, and then yeah, starting to think about some touring possibilities, but taking it slow for sure.
yeah, actually, speaking of your single, I got to listen to "Stronger Than You Know." I think it was the most recent one.
Yeah,
What's the story behind that?
so that was one of our lockdown writing sessions, um, inspired by a storm that hit Cody's property up in just past Surrey, eastern point of Prince Edward Island. Big snowstorm, and he lost power, and the wind was coming in, and he had to like run and grab a 2x4 to hammer on his door.
Hmm.
And it was one of those like really intense quick storms, and he showed up a couple of days later to the writing session, and he had a lot of inspiration, I think, from his night out there. So that was a song we wrote with Colin McDonald on Zoom, and that was the story, just about like hunkering down and battling through whatever you're going through. You can do this. That was
Hmm.
the song.
Yeah, I listened to the lyrics and not knowing the story behind it, I was kind of like, okay, then this has a lot of a good, you know, perseverance type of story to it.
Yeah, it felt like the right time to release a song like this, and it was one that Cody was super proud of and thought, maybe people would like to hear it. It could help people go through some stuff. So that was the one we decided would be the first single. Yeah,
And on top of that too, it's well made. You guys have a really great sound with your music, so it just kind of makes a whole nice package to put out for sure.
thanks. We had a really great time recording. We actually did it right here in my basement. Recorded it here the first time we hadn't, gone out and found a big expensive studio. So it was a different experience, but we worked with a producer from Toronto named Derek Hoffman, who is just a brilliant, nice guy and super talented. So he brought the whole thing together through Zoom as well. It was, yeah, it was fun. Took our time, was really relaxed, and we're pretty happy with how it turned out.
Hmm. Now, I've always wanted to know, like, because of the background of this story, are the winters out on the coast that crazy?
It can be. I mean, growing up in Ontario, it gets like super cold, and I don't think we don't deal with the temperatures out here as much, but occasionally you'll get hit with like really intense winds and snowfall.
Okay.
So yeah,
I
lots
mean,
of snow at times.
yeah, I know Ottawa can go through like all four seasons in one day, so it's pretty crazy that way sometimes. But I don't think we've ever had that much snowfall, or we get some winds and stuff like that. But
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, pretty intense at times. I think a few years ago there was 20 feet. I think was the
jeez.
They had a pretty epic storm. There's some pictures of that online, but this past winter was fine. I think it just depends on the year and
Hmm.
the state of the global climate.
Yeah, we've been struck with more tornadoes than anything in like right in Ottawa.
I saw that. Yeah, it was devastating.
There was people, I think, like 2 weeks without power. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's it's no fun. Scary stuff for sure.
Hmm.
I was thinking of you guys.
Well, I mean, it was it. Luckily enough, there was no real casualties or anything like that. There's just some damage, trees. Near my mom's place, there was had to be like 100 foot, 6 foot round tree that was just resting on top of some townhouses, and crazy to see stuff like that happen.
It's wild. Yeah, there's no stopping those tornadoes when they come through. It's yeah, Mother Nature, man. Pretty intense, powerful.
Hmm. So I do have a couple fun questions I always like to ask people, and it gets a little bit more insight of who you are as a person and
Okay.
musician.
Uh
So, so first one I have is, what is something on your go-to playlist that people wouldn't expect that you listen to?
oh. Um. I was gonna say, I think this is probably people might expect this anyways, but I'm into tons of stuff. But recently I've been jamming out to Coldplay and Ariana Grande,
Okay.
stuff like that. I'm
Hmm.
into top 40 probably more than people would realize. Um, yeah, been listening to Bahama's latest record. He's from Barrie as well, so I'm proud of him. Although I've never met. Um, yeah, I don't know, nothing too crazy, I guess. Just into the mainstream stuff, and then also into the really traditional, like Irish tunes as well.
Yeah, I love some Irish tunes. I have a kind of section on my one playlist with just different things like that.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, I always find people wonder about that question, and then they're like, well, I don't know if I should say this or this. Like, one of my guilty pleasure songs I tell everybody is Super Bass, Nicki Minaj. It's just full
Oh
of
yeah,
energy and fun, and it's just, you can have fun with the whole song.
so good. Dua Lipa, big fan.
Yeah.
It's hard not to like the stuff she's putting out. Yeah,
Do you guys have a collab that you guys would love to do with someone?
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, we'd love to do many things. We haven't nothing lined up at the moment, but yeah, we're sort of now that we're focusing more on recordings and stuff, we have been thinking about maybe collaborating with other artists. So, any suggestions?
Oh God, I would. um, See, now you're putting me on the
Yeah,
spot
let's
here. I can't
send it
even think
back.
of any. I don't usually get put on the spot. This is different.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. We got a great team. This is our first time working with a label as well, so they've been suggesting a few things. I don't know if I can mention anything yet, but there might be some collaborations down the
Okay.
line. Yeah,
Well, I mean, we'll definitely keep an eye on that for sure.
cool.
So another question I have, and this one actually is probably the most interesting. What's one thing that you think should be asked more in interviews that's not asked enough?
Wow. Um, I'm not sure. Favorite hockey team?
Okay. Who's your favorite hockey team?
Unfortunately, I'm a big Leafs fan. Um, I always love talking hockey, but
Hmm.
no, you're doing a great job. I'm enjoying this approach. The worst interviews are the ones that happen so fast and no one's done the research, and it's just the more generic ones are not very fun. So I'm quite enjoying this. Thanks,
I,
Tom.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, I'm not the best at research. I do have writers that sometimes help me with these things because, like I said, I'm a photographer. I don't do some of these other things usually, but I try to
Oh, you
make
do.
it so there's cookie cutter questions because you have to have those,
That's
and
easy.
th-
Yeah.
and then you have to, I want to dig a little bit deeper into who you are as a person.
Oh yeah. You listen to the song. You did your research. You're good.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. Makes me feel good. One of my final questions I have and this one's always, I like this one because it speaks to a bit of everyone. What's a piece of advice that you were given as a musician coming up that you've held on to tightly throughout your career?
Huh. Another stumper.
Hmm. I leave these ones to
Um,
the end because it makes you think a little bit.
yeah, I think. Well, we when we started the band, we always just decided as soon if this ever stops being fun, there's no point in doing it for us. I mean, you're not. Yeah, that's what you're here. You love playing music, and I think one thing that comes to mind is a friend told me at some point when you're like often you get offered these gigs and you have to make a decision on whether or not to do them. He was like, "There's three things you need to consider, like the people you're doing it with, the geez, now I'm thinking I'm gonna forget one of these. The people you do it with, the pay, and then is it gonna further your career? So those are the three things he said you should think about. And if it matches two of those things, it's worth doing. And I
Okay.
always thought that was maybe a little too mathematical to think about all the time, but useful. I've actually gone back to that a couple times. I'm like, at the end of the day, just do what you want to do. But that was an interesting approach that whether or not I use it, I do think about that from time to time.
It sounds interesting. I like that concept. You can't always get everything perfect, so two out of
That's
three's
it.
better than
Two out
nothing.
of three, worth
Hmm.
doing at least. And then if you regret it, no worries, it happens.
I mean, there's no reason to regret things. You just learn from and move on.
That's it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots to learn in the music industry and just in life in general. So still learning as we go here, for sure.
Kind of a second part to that question, then, is there some tidbits of advice that you would give from stuff that you've learned to up and comers?
Um, you just keep doing what you love to do. I think is the biggest thing. I'm trying to still do that myself because otherwise you'll be wishing you did it. So you might as well do it and keep going, and you'll succeed at it if you just keep working on stuff. I think there's a lot of space in the world for people to create and make music and produce music, and if you love doing it, then it's not time wasted, and just keep going. That's what I'd say.
Nice. And yeah, I mean that is pretty good. My last question I'll have for you today is, when it comes to music, are you someone who wants to listen to a whole album that tells a story, or are you just like a guy who likes a single and move on to the next one and doesn't really have to mesh with everything?
Yeah, that seems to be how it's going these days, eh? The singles are the things. I
Hmm.
definitely love a full thought out album. And yeah, there's nothing better than listening like good pair of headphones right through a brilliantly planned album is yeah, pretty special. So we try to think about that as well. Yeah, we've got this EP we're coming out is the songs were written individually, but we definitely hope there's a bit of a theme to it and an arc to the record. And yeah, that's important. I think that's part of the art of music as well.
Hmm.
Um, the bigger picture, trying to say something with your individual songs. But nothing wrong with a single too.
Yeah, there's a single's great, and everything tells a story in its own right.
Definitely.
Just a
Yeah.
bigger story is sometimes nice too.
Yeah. And I love falling in love with one song too that you listen to every morning, gets you out of bed, and yeah, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I have a few of those, like before bed and then when I wake up type of thing.
Yeah.
Nice energy feel to it.
For sure. Yeah. Music's amazing. Yeah.
Hmm. That's pretty much all I have for you. Is there any final notes and tidbits of wisdom that you want to leave to the viewers slash listeners?
No, that's great, Tom. I should have had an extra coffee to keep up with your good questions here, but No, I really enjoyed this. Thanks for chat.
No, and I appreciate it. I always love to get to meet new people and get to learn a little bit more about who you are as a musician.
Yeah, thanks, man. Go Blue Jays.
Blue Jays, yep. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Still fairly early, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, 11:30 on the East Coast here. Yeah, a few little
Hmm.
projects to finish up today. So
Yeah, I've got another interview this afternoon and got a few more things on the go. So yeah,
nice. We'll reach out anytime if you want to chat.
awesome. And look forward to doing it again.
Cool, man. Take care.
Have a good one.